One of the interesting things about this opening is I'm really sitting here wondering when the last time we saw it in an SCC was, because the Benoni is not a regular participant here. But I will say, Danny, the reason that we're seeing it looks like the G3 move. It is kind of a thing that if you see D4, C4, G3 in the opening, you respond to it with C5 and invite the Benoni, because this is, quote unquote, the worst Benoni that you can play as white, and it's still pretty good.
Yeah, and I love that you said that, because it's the worst Benoni you can play as white, and black is still at least slightly worse.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Benoni structure, that D6, C5 versus white's kind of extended D pawn and the potential to play for E4 and F4. The G3 system is not as dangerous for black. You aren't expanding as quickly, but white still enjoys a comfortable space edge.
Exactly. That's what the opening is all about. This idea of
here?
playing. Hang on a sec. Is this a piece? He's got a smirk on his face. Like it is Bishop D7. This is the move Knight A3. It stops B5, and the reason it's so good is you can't actually make B5 happen because you need D7 to support it, but you also need that square for your knight. And this is what we're talking about. This Benoni is such a frustrating opening. I understand why Fabi played knight H5 and quickly, Danny, because he trapped his own knight, plain and simple. That's all there is to it. He's just trying to get counterplay at this point. Knight on H5, hitting the G3 pawn as well. So yeah, the idea is exactly this. Pawn takes on E5, bishop takes on E5, and at this point, if we see maybe like G4, perhaps the idea. This is surprising. And actually, the blue arrow from the engine is even more surprising, just to me as a commentator. My thought is you always want to take this dark square bishop for the knight. So I was thinking knight takes on F4, G takes on F4, maybe bishop D4 check, with the black queen coming to H4, and maybe rook to E3, kind of attacking the H3 pawn. That's what I was expecting. But the blue arrow from the engine here, Danny, is saying bishop takes on F4, presumably with queen H4 and rook E3 in mind. And it would be truly shocking if Fabi hung a piece and found a way back into this.
Yeah. Sorry. What a wild day going on right now. The chess is wild. The only thing more wild is everyone's internet connection. Like I said, Mercury must be in retrograde or something. I don't know what's going on with the universe right now. But wow. Okay. Look at this. Knight takes G3. The miss instead of the line you said. And,
yeah, initially I was thinking knight takes F4, but computer was saying, hang on, bishop takes on F4, which is unusual, because why would you not want to maintain your dark square bishop at the end of the line? So I totally understand what Fabi is thinking, but you just don't get to do it. Bishop E5 is going to be met by knight C4, bishop D4 check by E3. There's no way to keep that bishop just dominating on those dark squares the way you'd like. So for that reason, Magnus is definitely far ahead, but has to be said, despite Fabi's, let's call it, maybe connection issues, Danny, and then also here spilling into his chess as well, hanging a full piece, I will say Magnus has blundered in a number of games in moments where you'd be shocked that he did.
No, I agree, and I'm just going to say it. It's awkward when we're dealing with maybe the two best chess players in their generation. I don't know, but this hasn't been the best chess today, Amon. I'm just going to say it. Like there's been a lot of blunders, right? It's been wild. And obviously there are many who would maybe try to challenge that, but these guys are definitely objectively two of the best, and I'm just not as impressed as I normally am so far. And it just been weird. So Magnus just gave back the piece, but he's got a bunch of targets, so I guess white still has a big advantage here now.
Well, yeah, he's up a rook, so this is.
I didn't even notice the rook. Sorry, I'm just like, there's so much going on here. Yeah,
he's basically got it. You would think, like at this point, F7 is a target. It was Fabi that wanted to maintain his dark square bishop. To our point earlier about knight C4 coming, he wanted to keep it so bad he was willing to sack the exchange. I mean, I don't know if that's the right decision or not, but it was the one that he decided to do. You can't move the bishop on f5 because of the f7 pawn. So it is really, really tough to play this position. I don't really know what we're going to see next from Fabi. Like h5, h4 comes to mind, but yeah, you really don't have any threats.
I mean, you're down a rook. And by the way, the knight coming to c4 wasn't just useful because it hits d6 and guards e3, but it also opens up the a3 square for the rook, not only to swing across the third rank, but maybe to go to b3. So Fabi is going to realize very quickly that being down a rook is probably just too much, even if he, solidifies the bishop or whatever else. So,
yeah, that's actually a great point, Danny, because I was looking at b5, and that's the answer. It's that rook a3 move, I think. We're hitting the bishop before you have time to cement with h4, h5, h4, and that's why we're seeing different reactions. But rook a3 is actually a key defensive resource, and that was a big spot.
Okay. Well, yeah, rook e4 played, but the computer says rook a3, the only way for white to maintain the large advantage he has. Magnus finds it. And now probably your call of e3. It's awkward when there's a bunch of pieces hanging, but that bishop is run out of squares, and you would gladly trade the dark squared bishop for that knight on c4. And in fact, Magnus finds it.
I agree. Yep. To me, this is about the end of the line because I don't see a place for that bishop. We see a little head shake there from Fabi. He's under a minute. I think this is, like I said, pretty much the end because rook takes on c4. Just take on f4. At that point, you start to have a conversation of like, this is a full rook, and knight d2 and e4 I'm expecting just to kind of seal things.
Yeah. And the dark squared bishop has survived, to his credit. You got to give the bishop credit because Fabi's been willing to give up every piece in their cousin to keep that piece alive. And at least right now, he will keep the bishop for a little longer, willing to lose the light square bishop instead.
Yeah, d2 is hanging, so he is going to grab it. Yes, there are some chances with these bishops. Despite being that rook down, it is only +3 or so. Instead of you might think like, oh, +4, +5. Not quite. There is a little bit of counterplay, but there's just no threats to make. It's really just whether Fabi can keep the position solid enough that it's tough to break through, but you will always be able to break through with that extra rook.
Yeah, rooks are just too much. In fact, now Magnus is like, look, I'm going to get rid of this bishop, happily giving up a rook and just use my extra minor piece if you let me. I wonder if he'll take first. Although it is funny, you have to give Fabi credit that despite being down a rook, it hasn't been so clear yet. Now he has this c pawn. Although the more we look at it and the more you look at the clock, it's probably just delaying the inevitable right now.
Yeah, the clock is really telling the story here. There's also a few situations where you might be able to make use of rook takes e5 with the idea of getting the queen to h6. Even better, don't even need to take the bishop to make it happen because of the back rank threats. Queen f4 looking to play queen h6, but also picking up the dangerous c pawn, which was really the only semblance of counterplay.
Yeah. And now rook takes e5 is going to be back on the agenda. If you want, if you're into it,
queen
get rid of the
e7
bishop.
maybe.
Oh,
queen e7 is just like,
did you eat your breakfast this morning? You spotted a couple nice ideas, with that the knight maneuver earlier in the game and now at the first game and now queen e7. I like it.
Yeah, had the Wheaties, Danny.
You did. You hit those Wheaties, and I love it. All right. Well, Magnus taking a minute to figure out how he wants to convert on his full rook advantage. He loves Amon Hamilton's queen e7. I was going to say, I still expect that bishop to just leave the board at some point, and now you're just up a piece.
Yeah. You have the d pawn here, which you're just going to play rook d1, d7, and he does even better, rook a1. Yep. No doubt that this is going to be a win.